They say silence is strength, but that night, my silence felt like a cage. Imagine sitting in a golden hall, chandeliers blazing, 300 faces smiling, and realizing every single one of them is laughing at you. That was my sister's wedding night. And that was the night everything changed. The hall in Charleston glittered like a dream. Polished marble floors, crystal glasses clinking, 1,000 candles swaying in soft harmony. It was the kind of night people chased their whole lives. I'd helped build it, every flower, every sparkle, every perfect little detail. Not because anyone asked me to, but because that's what I'd always done. I made things perfect. Quietly. My sister, Vivian, stood at the microphone, her lace gown catching the light like spun gold. She was radiant. And then she smiled that familiar smile, the one I'd seen 1,000 times before, the one that meant trouble wrapped in charm. "I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight," she said sweetly. Then her tone shifted, playful, sharp. "And of course, a special shout out to my forever single sister, Aria." Laughter. Laughter so loud it drowned out the music. People clapped, glasses chimed, heads turned toward me, the joke of the night. I smiled too. Because that's what you do when humiliation sits next to you wearing pearls. My face burned, but I didn't move. If I did, she'd win again. Vivian had always been the golden one, adored, praised, untouchable. As kids in Savannah, teachers called her a star in the making. Me, I was the steady one, the helper, the girl who stayed late, paid the bills, and picked up the pieces no one else noticed were broken. Even our mother used to say it like a compliment. "Aria's dependable." As if dependability were a personality, not a cage. By the time she was winning crowns and scholarships, I was working double shifts to keep the lights on. And somehow, everyone called her the success story. But I learned something from the shadows. I learned to build quietly, to make silence my weapon. Years later, when Vivian was still chasing parties and spotlights, I'd built something real, a company from scratch. Whitmore Strategies. I didn't need applause. I needed results. And by 30, I had them. Contracts, acquisitions, power. All hidden behind the quiet smile of the boring sister. When Vivian called about her wedding, the estate, the chandeliers, the imported flowers, of course I paid for it. No one asked. They just assumed I would. That was my role. The reliable sister. The silent investor. Then, the night before her wedding, she came to me. Perfume thick as honey, voice dripping with condescension. "Aria," she said, "tomorrow's a big day. Could you not mention your little business? Graham's boss will be there. Serious people. I don't want you to embarrass me." Her words hit harder than any slap. Little business. She said it like it was a hobby, like the years I'd spent clawing my way to the top were just a pastime for a woman who didn't have a husband. I swallowed my anger, smiled. "Of course," I said. "It's your day." But inside, something cracked. The wedding was perfect. Until the speeches. The maid of honor, giggling, tipsy, raised her glass. "And let's not forget Vivian's sister, Aria. Our forever single queen chasing her business dreams." Laughter. Again. The kind that pierces skin and memory. Then Vivian took the mic. "Yes," she said. "Aria's been on quite an entrepreneurial adventure lately." She even did air quotes. "And we keep reminding her that dreams have expiration dates." The room exploded with laughter. Even the servers smiled. I felt my throat tighten. My napkin was soaked from my palms. And then, as I sat there trying to hold my dignity together, I heard it. Vivian's voice near the bar, soft but cruel. "She'll never be more than the single sister pretending to be important." That was the moment something inside me stopped bending. When Robert Hale, the CEO of Stanton Dynamics, approached my table, I knew who he was. He was Graham's boss. He was also the man whose company I had quietly acquired 6 months earlier. He smiled politely. I hear you're between jobs? I looked up at him, really looked at him, and said evenly, No. I own Stanton Dynamics. He froze, blinking, processing, and in that heartbeat of silence, everything shifted. Robert straightened, then crossed the room to the stage. He took the microphone from the DJ. Excuse me, he said, his voice slicing through the chatter. I think there's something everyone should know. While you've spent this evening laughing at Aria Whitmore, you've been laughing at the owner of Stanton Dynamics, one of the largest tech firms represented in this room. Some of you, he added, his gaze landing on Graham and his colleagues, actually work for her. The hall went still. The laughter died mid-breath. Glasses froze halfway to lips. Vivian's face, pale as the wedding cake, crumbled. Graham's jaw tightened, panic written across his face. And me? I stood, smoothed my dress, and walked to the stage. I took the mic, my voice steady. Yes, I said. I am Aria Whitmore. I built Whitmore Strategies from the ground up. And tonight, I kept silent because it was my sister's day. But let this be a reminder, silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence hides power. You could hear a pin drop. When the music started again, the entire atmosphere had changed. People who had laughed now lined up with apologies, business cards trembling in their hands. Graham stood red-faced beside his boss, suddenly very small in a room he no longer owned. Later, Vivian found me outside beneath the lanterns. Her mascara streaked, voice breaking. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. I looked at her, my sister, the girl I protected all my life, and said quietly, Because you never listened. You needed me small so you could feel big. She cried then, real tears, not for show. And I walked away, not angry anymore, just free. Months later she called. Therapy had begun. We were both trying, slowly, to rebuild what pride had destroyed. And I learned something I'll never forget. My worth was never in their applause. It was in the quiet power I built when no one believed in me. So to anyone watching this who's ever been underestimated, remember this. Let them laugh. Let them talk. Because when your silence finally speaks, the world will listen. This isn't revenge. It's revelation. And sometimes, that's louder than any speech.